When you see protests like this, and you mentioned earlier, look, we've seen violent protests over the last few years. Do you want the Greek parliament to reject this deal?
No. I think it'll be the third bailout that Greece will have received, and I think that Greece needs to take the money and run.
Run where?
Run back to building its own economy, introducing its own currency, and remaining independent of the European Union, which prior to joining the Eurozone, Greece was an inexpensive place for tourists to visit. There was a stable economy, and people's livelihoods were sufficient to exist within the economy.
So you would prefer to see them accept the deal, accept the austerity, but really as a bridge for them to exit the Eurozone altogether?
And I think that that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room that everybody knows is there, that Merkel isn't admitting to, that the Italian people are waiting to see how Greece reacts and responds to this bailout and what it'll do thereafter. And then, assuming that Greece takes advantage of all of the great resources that the country has, both in terms of mineral and tourism, in agriculture and so on. And its manufacturing is very strong now. If it takes advantage of all of these aspects of its economy, it can become a very stable, very self-serving place to be.
David, let me bring you back for just a quick second. Are you seeing people on the ground wanting an exit from the euro? We know they're against austerity. We know they don't want this kind of reform, but do they actually want to exit, like you just heard Alki discuss?
They don't talk about that explicitly, but one of the first people I talked to when I got here was a fruit seller who said something to me that's really stuck with me. He said, Greece is a country that is very rich with poor people. And a few hours later, I sat down with the owner of a cafe. We talked about taxes. We talked about pension reform. But what he said, just picking up off of what was just said, is that what Greece really needs to focus on is productivity. This is a country that is so rich with resources, so rich with people who are willing and wanting to work. That's what this country needs to harness going forward. So anecdotally, I'm hearing very similar things on the ground here in Athens, Alix.
Alki, but regardless of whether or not, the will is there to do that, you still need some kind of reform. You still need a government to lead it. They still actually need money in order to do that. So doesn't Greece need reform regardless of whether or not they stay in the euro?
Well, this is reform. I mean, the Greek people spoke up in a referendum, which Tsipras was very brave to hold. Varoufakis, I think the finance minister, I think if anything, he got burnt out over the last few months of negotiations. The Greek people have been really strong in their opinion, and
which their opinion is actually they want to stay in the euro.
No,
I mean they don't want reforms, but they do want to stay in the euro. Polls show at least 70% of Greeks.
Polls showed the opposite to the referendum vote. Polls are engineered. No, polls are engineered by pollsters. They're not engineered by the people's vote, particularly in Greece. I think that if you gave Greeks the opportunity to decide whether they could have salaries that matched the rest of Europe against the value of the euro dollar, then perhaps they would say yes, but that's not happening.